Coming up on Ravens Rundown, should Baltimore draft Texas wide receiver Adonai Mitchell? We'll explore the possibility, go over his scouting report and more coming up in just a matter of moments. Also, we have an update on not one but two top 30 visits for your Baltimore Ravens. We'll tell you what you need to know here in just a bit. Tyler Jones here. Glad to be back, fresh off a vacation, and I'm not going anywhere, folks. I need you to subscribe and lock us in for the best Ravens coverage you are going to find anywhere, folks. As we're getting you ready for the draft, we are ramping things up here on the channel over the next couple of weeks, and we want to make sure you're a part of it all as we're getting close to 16,000 subscribers, just over 50 away from reaching that next milestone. Subscribe now, never miss a moment. We'll get started with today's show. Adonai Mitchell, could he be on his way to the Baltimore Ravens? Pro Football Focus, we use their simulators from time to time here on the channel when we do our mock drafts. Well, get this. They went through all their simulations, and with the simulator, the most likely pick for the Baltimore Ravens, according to Pro Football Focus, is Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver from Texas. Get this. 18.8% of their simulations have Baltimore going with Mitchell as the selection. So that's a lot. That's a very high number. So they think that he's the most likely pick at this point in time. And I know that we have talked a lot that the priority for the Baltimore Ravens is the offensive line and shoring up the offensive tackle position. But the wide receiver position is a huge need as well. And if this is what the Ravens ultimately end up with, if they draft Adonai Mitchell, I would be very happy with this, quite frankly, because this is still a huge position of need. We've talked a lot on this show over the last several weeks that what the Ravens are losing defensively, they need to make up for offensively. And you add in a guy like Adonai Mitchell to go along with Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely in that passing game, all of a sudden you go up a huge step, I think, with what Mitchell brings potentially to Baltimore's offensive system. Here's more from Ebony Bird on the possibility of drafting Adonai Mitchell. Mitchell may need to work on some concentration drops, but his skills from a measurable point of view are simply tremendous, with great vertical speed, ball skills, and route running all mixed into one package. Mitchell's main sell will be the idea of him sliding right into the starting lineup and contributing immediately. That's exactly what we wanted to hear, folks. More on Adonai Mitchell, the Texas Star receiver, was there for one season, was with the Georgia Bulldogs before that, won a couple national titles with them, and he made a huge impact on the Longhorn offense this past season, was the Big 12 Newcomer of the Year, was a second-team All-Big 12 selection as Texas ended up winning the Big 12 Conference this year and going to the college football playoff. And I think this is where I disagree with Mel. He's got him as the number 7 receiver on his big board. I think he's better than that. You look at the numbers, and for me, there's a few things that stand out. One of them is the average yards per reception. 15, I'll take that. 11 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns. He's an ATM. He's an automatic touchdown machine. And then the drops. This guy does not drop the football, which is a very crucial, important thing. The scouting report on Mitchell, above average long speed, good flexibility in body control, functional as a route runner, and very good hand-eye coordination, so he knows where to find the ball. He's got a little hot and cold when it comes to the yards after catch. He has his moments, but then he kind of goes missing time at times too as far as that goes. So let's ask you, what do you think about Adonai Mitchell? Here's your chance to beat Eric DeCosta here on today's show. Weigh in on our pinned comment today. Let us know what you think. Y for yes, in for no, if the Ravens should draft Mitchell or not. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the best place to go when you're looking for last-minute tickets as the prices drop as the event gets closer. The lowest prices guaranteed with the best seats. You go to Game Time, you choose the event you want to go to, find the seat, see if you like it or not, look for their flash deals, And then within a matter of moments, you're checking out on Game Time just like that, whether it's Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. Game Time makes it simple and easy for you. And we're offering you $20 off your first purchase when you use the promo code ChatSports. So download Game Time today. Terms and conditions do apply. $20 off with that promo code ChatSports. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. All right, so a couple top 30 visits that the Ravens had over the last few days with some players from Penn State. They include defensive end Chop Robinson, the best name in this year's draft, especially at his position, and Penn State tight end Theo Johnson. Let's start with Chop Robinson. Played for Penn State for 2 seasons. Before that was right here in the state of Maryland in 2021. This past season was a first-team All-Big Ten selection, and Mel Kiper Jr. has him as the number 3 outside linebacker on his big board going into this year's draft. You look at the numbers of what he put together this past season in 10 games played, 15 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles this past year. Now, the scouting report we'll get to in just a moment, but I'll say this. I'm surprised to see the stock on Robinson continue to fall. It seemed like about a month or 2 ago, it was a sure thing that Chop Robinson was going to be a first-round pick. Now, you might be looking at getting a guy like Chop Robinson potentially in the 2nd round. This could be a steal in a position of need. You can never have too many pass rushers, and Chop Robinson would be a natural fit, I think, in this Ravens defense. He's got elite get-off, quick to react. He can be he could be a handful when it comes to finesse moves. He's got several of them that he can work around. Very bendy to turn tight corners. Gets penetration when slanting. Very important. Does have a lean frame, though. He could add some size, get in the weight room a little bit, and shore that up, but I don't think that's a huge issue. I think that's something he could take care of. So let's ask you, should the Ravens draft Chop Robinson? D for draft, P for pass. Weigh in the comments section. Let us know what you think, if you'd like to see Chop Robinson in Baltimore or not. Let's tell you about Theo Johnson now. Theo Johnson, tight end from Penn State, was there from 2020 to 2023. An all Big Ten honorable mention this past season. And Mel has him as the number 4 tight end on Kiper's big board. And I'll say this, Theo Johnson, what's interesting, he's not a bad prospect, but when you look at the needs that the Ravens are looking to address, tight end is not a high priority. In fact, it might be their best position group on this entire team, with Mark Andrews there, Isaiah Likely coming off a strong second season, and I'm still high on Charlie Kolar, personally speaking. So when you look at the priorities, I think there's other things to take care of first before I would consider bringing a guy like Theo Johnson to Baltimore. The numbers, not earth-shattering when it comes to his reception total and his yardage, but he did have a decent number of touchdowns, 7 touchdowns, so could be a nice red zone threat potentially if Baltimore were to go that route. The scouting report on Theo Johnson, a well-built frame. He's got good hands as a route runner, good lateral explosion, very good blocking ability, and then he is a little sluggish out of his stance at times. So something to monitor on that front that he'll need to work on there. Who's a player the Ravens should draft? We've talked about a few of them here on today's show. I know a lot of you want an offensive tackle. Weigh in that comment section. Give me a player that you would like to see the Baltimore Ravens pick up in this year's draft. Thanks for joining us here on Ravens Rundown. Glad to be back on the show. Had a nice vacation out on the West Coast, but we are all dialed in here on Ravens Rundown, counting you down to the draft. Lock us in now. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time here on Ravens Rundown.